EKU game obviously had some good efforts defensively. Was proud overall of the 4 quarters they put in. Offensively did not carry the torch. Made some plays special team wise, but ultimately did not play well enough for 4 quarters to win the football game. Talked a lot yesterday about some of the things that we need to do, have to do to get ready for this next stretch of games, because a lot of the toughest opponents in this conference are left on our schedule the next couple of weeks. So we've got to make sure that from a mentality standpoint that we understand what's still in front of us and how we go about putting together a complete game, both offensively, defensively, as well as our racer ball units. So, again, there's some bright spots in there, but overall, just too many dumb mistakes, too many, alignment, assignment, those type things, too many turnovers offensively. One thing we do need to do a better job of is creating turnovers defensively. Still, we had one for the interception, and that was, what a tremendous effort by old Caddis right there. But got to create more. Can't turn the ball over. Got to be better in third quarter offensively. So an awful lot of tape and an awful lot of learning yesterday went on. A lot of hard conversations, tough conversations. Guys doing the same things over and over, whether that's unsportsmanlike penalties or whatever the case may be. A lot of cleaning up to do, and we've got to get it cleaned up, because I made no mistake about it. I've heard talk and all that kind of stuff, and people think something's wrong with Jacksonville State or whatever the case may be. Turn the tape on, you'll find out real quickly ain't nothing wrong with Jacksonville State. They're still the Jacksonville State they've always been, very talented. Plus, we got to go down there and play them, so we've got our work cut out for us.
You threw it 59 times, ran it 19. You're usually closer to a 55-45% split. Did you go in planning to do that, or was it just dictated by the way the game unfolded?
Yeah, dictated by the way the game unfolded, and dictated by, we ran it 19 times, I think, for 22 yards or something like that. And obviously that was probably the biggest conversation I had, both with the offensive staff as well as the offensive players. Yesterday met as a team, offensive team yesterday, to talk about a few things and make sure that we're all on the same page from a run game standpoint. Think we may have drank the Kool-Aid a little bit coming off the week before, because right now we're very, very inconsistent in the run game. You can look at it as a whole and go, well, they're running the football better. That's not necessarily true. We've just had a couple of games where we've really had some good outputs, but then we've also had a couple of games where we've just completely stunk it up. And Saturday was a game where we've completely just stunk it up. So we've got to do a better job of getting on the same page collectively and consistently, so that we can run the football week in and week out better. Because, like you said, I mean, anytime you sit back there and don't get me wrong, I love throwing the ball, because I think not for aesthetics and looks and all that. I like throwing the football because it is the best way, in my opinion, to spread a defense thin and make them cover 53 1/3 of the field. But you can't do it every down if that's the only pitch you got. If the fastball is the only pitch you got, you're going to get rocked out of the house. And Saturday night, fastball was the only thing we could throw up there.
Was the ineffectiveness of the run game a big factor in the decision not to go for it on 4th and 1 at the goal line?
Yep, because the biggest mistake I made was going for it on 4th down at midfield and not getting it, because up to that point we had not proven that we could do that. So after watching the tape, that was probably my one regret. Because to be honest with you, I also should have taken a timeout right before half when they were trying to run down the clock and going to kick a field goal just to go in half. But to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't want something else. That was the other thing, just kind of self-critiquing. I didn't want something else to go wrong. And when you coach like that, that's a bad deal. So I let the time go out and figured, hey man, let's try to block a field goal, see if we can create something right here, block field goal, return it right there before half, as opposed to taking the time out, leaving more time on the clock. They kick a field goal, maybe they sky kick off, something like that, something goes crazy, and or we turn the ball over, right? So that decision plus going for it on fourth down in midfield, those two decisions I really regretted after the game. The decision not to go for it on 4th and 1 down there on the goal line was the biggest thing you got to do in that situation is put it to a one-possession ball game, and that's ultimately what I wanted to do, was get us seven points from the lead right there to a one-possession ball game. Now, if it was a higher scoring game and we had ran the football effectively and all of that kind of stuff, then I may have tried to go for it right there and then win it with a field goal, or tie it with a field goal or whatever the case may be. We just weren't. There was nothing in that game up to that point that told me, hey, trust it and let's go.
I feel like, again, Corey Thomas ran it well against Tennessee State. I know we're kind of being a dead horse here talking about the running game, but I feel like your most effective rushing attacks have been when Preston's been able to get out of the pocket or take those design runs. The design run was not there, particularly against DKU. Granted, the best rush defense in the league right now. Yep. How much does the design run for Preston open up the rest of the run for this offense, or is it the other way around?
No, it does. I mean, when you can play with 11 dudes and not 10, that's a huge benefit offensively. And I've said that a bunch. It's very easy. When you got a dude who can't do anything with his feet and he just sits back there and throws, you're playing with 10 guys, right? Especially as it relates to the run game, because there is no 10 personnel 6-man run anymore, right? You got to hand it to the back, and we've been very, very fortunate to be able to use Preston. Now, some of the woes was just we whiff on the backside backer. We're chasing two off the edge on a counter play, whereas if you just go through your rule and you kick the first thing that shows, the other two are booked, meaning they're out of the play. Don't worry about them. Don't concern yourself with them and hit it downfield, and you got a big-time play, and we don't do that. So those are the things, those are the conversations I had with the offensive staff of why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we effectively and efficiently operating in that way when those things, why are we chasing? Why do we look confused in those situations? Okay? Don't want to hear that's a tough situation, because really and truly it's not. We whiff on a backside backer. They bring two off the edge. That's not a tough situation. You just go through your rule and everything will work out. And then the other part of it is EKU had a nice little scheme now. I mean, anytime that we were going to run a jet sweep, they were going to bring a backside defender away from it for Preston. And that backside defender got home twice and then ultimately hit us in the reverse. When I was trying to create a spark, I was the one that called the reverse, trying to create a spark off the turnover. I think it was, or maybe it was just a short field, I forget. It was off a short field, and they hit us in the mouth off the reverse, and that's because they were bringing that backside defender away from our stretch play, if you will, for Preston, and wound up dumbing into the reverse. So it was a nice little scheme they had as well.
You guys still score on that drive, though. Despite that negative play, your team was able to bounce back from that. Can you illuminate on the bounce back? I know you talked a lot about it on Saturday, and I know it's not a win, but down 24, your team rallied to within a final play.
No, it was not a win. My wife tries to do that to me all the time. She thinks it's going to make it all better and when I get home, she says, man, your kids fought hard. I'm very proud of your boys and all that kind of stuff. Very, very proud of the guys too, but a loss is a loss, and win's a win. It's very cut and dry. It's very black and white, right? You either is or you ain't, and we ain't, or we ain't Saturday, at least. So, did we give up and all that? No, but I mean, if you're gonna go out there and give up, why are you doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're gonna go out there and give up, then man, today instead of practicing, why don't we just all go hit the golf? Well, we can't do it today because it's raining. Let's go shoot basketball, right? Okay, and the rest of the week, let's go dilly-dally around, show up Saturday, and if it goes well, then we'll keep playing. If not, then we'll just give up. So I'm kind of over those conversations of, hey, man, you guys fought hard and all of that kind of stuff. We've got to put 4 quarters together, And offensively right now, we're not doing that. The games that we have done that offensively, something's lacked defensively, right, where we've gotten hit by some big plays or whatever, or we've had some woes in the kicking game. Ball kerplunks off our face mask and we turn it over, whatever the case may be. Okay, we get a field goal blocked and all of these things. So, and again, there's fault and there's responsibility, and I have the responsibility of making sure all of that stuff gets corrected and we continue to get better. Now, the silver lining for me is every time, every time I get in a pity party with myself, I look up at that roster and realize there's a lot of young players on that roster, right? And so some of that, you're kind of going through some woes of young players and all that kind of stuff. But still, we got to get fixed because we got a lot of football ahead of us, got a lot of good football ahead of us. I like where we're sitting right now. I don't love it, right? We could have been better, but we're not out by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of good teams that still have to play one another. And right now with this league, your guess is as good as mine on what's going to happen this Saturday with all the people playing. So we're okay. We just we got to move forward. We got to put some things together and move forward.
What does Jacksonville State do best?
They play football. They play football, man. Them jokers. They run. They tackle the ball very well. They run the ball very well. They are very physical, very athletic. They're the same Jacksonville State team that's always been right there. They've turned the ball over more offensively than they have in the past. They play man coverage. They grab you a lot in coverage right there. They make it very hard for your wide receivers to run. They've got some very unique blitz packages. Their backers play downhill when they need to play downhill. They got two big guys on the inside that are very physical, very heavy. They're hard to move. Their offensive line can run block very well. They've got a quarterback who's big and can run it, can throw it. They got some very tall receivers. I think their receivers they got a couple of them that are 6'3", I think one of them 6'5", something like that. Big, tall guys. They can jump ball very well. Their kicking game, they've got a punter that can boom it. He's very tall, very long. He can put it out there very well. Number 11, they've also played another kid, number 87, I think, that can punt it very well. Kickoff right there, they tend to sky it a bunch. They don't kick it deep. Haven't really figured that out, why they don't really kick it deep and cover it deep, but they sky it a bunch, so you got to be ready for that. Kickoff return, haven't gotten loose yet from a return standpoint, but number 9's very elusive back there. They got Yul Gowdy, who I tried to recruit out of high school, is a very good player. He can get loose on you, and if you let them, then they'll run and they'll go score. So with all of that being said, like I said, they're a good football team. There's not very much that they don't do well right now. They played a heck of a schedule now. They can't schedule any FBS schools. They're having a tough time scheduling FBS schools. So what they're doing is they've got to schedule all of these to Southeast Louisiana and Eastern Washington, who they beat, who was ranked 3rd in the country, and all of these schools, Chat and North Alabama and all of these schools. It's not like they've had a cupcake road to get in here to get to the point they're at. They've played some really good football teams, done some really, really good things. And there's not a whole lot of holes where you can watch them on tape and say, ooh, they don't do this very well, or ooh, they don't do that very well. They play football very, very well.
When they do have problems, though, it's been via the turnovers. It's
probably the most uncharacteristic thing that they're doing right now is turning the football over. I know Gross very well. I've known him for a long time, and I guarantee you they're emphasizing it like crazy throughout the week to get it fixed.